Welcome back to JF Coin, the channel where history, hidden treasures, and money all come together in the form of beautiful old coins. Today we are going to talk about one of the most collected and beloved coins in American numismatic history. The famous Lincoln penny 1-cent coin from the year 1981. At first glance, it may look like just another small copper-colored cent, the kind you have seen millions of times in everyday life. But wait until you hear the full story. Because this little coin carries with it a deep history, incredible hidden value, and a special place in the collector's market today. Some examples of this coin are worth a lot more than you could ever imagine. Let's begin with a little history. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. This was the very first time that the face of a real person appeared on a regular circulating United States coin. Until then, coins carried symbolic images of liberty, eagles, or Native American figures. But in 1909, the great engraver Victor David Brenner designed the portrait of Lincoln that we still see on the penny today. That same portrait has remained on the front of the coin for well over a century. On the reverse, the design changed over time. From 1909 to 1958, the back showed the wheat ears design. From 1959 until 2008, the reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And since 2010, the reverse shows the shield design we see today. Now let us focus on the year 1981. This year is very important in the timeline of the Lincoln cent. In 1981, pennies were still being struck in mostly copper composition, about 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. Each of these coins weighed 3.1 grams. But right after 1981, everything changed. In 1982, the United States Mint switched the composition to copper-plated zinc because the price of copper metal had risen so high that the penny itself was worth more in melt value than its face value of 1 cent. That means if you melted a copper penny you would get more than 1 cent worth of copper. For that reason, 1981 is remembered as the final full year when every single cent produced was still the traditional copper alloy. This makes the 1981 penny very special to collectors today. The design details are also worth noting. On the obverse side of the 1981 penny, we see Abraham Lincoln facing right, the word liberty to his left, and the motto "In God We Trust" across the top. The date 1981 appears on the right. Below the date you may find a small mint mark, either a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco if the coin was a proof issue. If there is no mint mark, that means the coin was struck at Philadelphia. On the reverse, we have the famous Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. If you look closely with a magnifying glass, you can actually see the tiny statue of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial. This little hidden detail is something many people never notice. Around the memorial it says United States of America, e pluribus unum, and 1 cent at the bottom. Now comes the part that excites every collector. The value. What is a 1981 Lincoln penny worth in today's market? Well, the answer depends on several important factors. Condition, mint mark, strike type, and rarity of errors. Circulated 1981 pennies, the ones that have been used in daily transactions, are generally worth only 1 cent. But if you have an uncirculated example, a bright red coin with no wear, it can be worth much more. An average mint state coin from 1981 Philadelphia or Denver might sell between 50 cents to $5 depending on grade. Proof coins from San Francisco, which were struck with mirror-like surfaces for collectors, can fetch between $2 and $10 in lower grades. But in the highest grades, these values climb dramatically. For example, professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC have certified top-quality 1981 Lincoln cents that sold for thousands of dollars at auction. One record example of a 1981 penny in pristine condition sold for over $7,700. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that most people would ignore as pocket change actually brought in thousands of dollars because it was flawless, perfectly preserved, and rare in that grade. But the story does not end there. Error coins are another area where the 1981 penny becomes extremely exciting. Imagine finding a double die obverse coin where the date or lettering looks doubled. Or a coin struck on the wrong planchet such as a dime or foreign coin blank. These rare errors from 1981 can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on how dramatic and visible the error is. Collectors around the world pay big money for such unusual mistakes because they are like unique works of art created by the minting process itself. Another key detail is the large date and small date varieties that exist in 1981 pennies. These varieties are caused by different styles of numerals used in the date during production. Some collectors specialize in finding both versions. Certain varieties in high grade can bring higher premiums. Now let us talk about the metal content and intrinsic value. A 1981 penny, being copper, has a melt value that is higher than 1 cent. In fact, each coin contains about 2 to 3 cents worth of copper at today's metal prices. However, melting pennies for profit is illegal in the United States, but this fact still adds an extra dimension of interest to collectors. They know that copper pennies have a built-in base value that zinc pennies do not. So where does this coin stand in today's market? Right now, the collector demand for copper Lincoln cents, especially from the late 70s and early 80s, is quite strong. With the growing interest in precious metals and with more people getting into coin collecting through online auctions and coin shows, values have been rising. High-grade certified examples, error coins, and proof issues continue to sell for impressive prices. Many collectors build full sets of Lincoln cents, and they absolutely need the 1981 to complete their copper-era collection. So to summarize, the 1981 Lincoln penny may seem like a simple coin, but it is actually a historic piece of American coinage. It represents the last full year of traditional copper cents, carries varieties and errors that can be worth hundreds or thousands, and in top condition it has sold for as much as $7,700 in auction. Even though you might find them in your change for just 1 cent, in reality they are worth much more to the collector community. This is why you should always check your pocket change carefully. That small cent you overlook could actually be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. Thank you for watching today's video on the 1981 Lincoln penny 1 cent. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history and value, make sure to subscribe to JF Coin. Today, we are going to explore one of the most talked about coins in American history, a coin that seems so ordinary yet carries with it a story of history, transformation, and even great value in today's collector's market. I am talking about the famous Lincoln penny, also known as the 1 cent coin from the United States, especially the interesting and highly collectible issues from the year 1982. Now, you might be wondering, why is the year 1982 so important? What makes the Lincoln penny of this year so different from other pennies that were minted before or after? Well, the answer lies in the big change that the U.S. Mint introduced during that very year. Until 1982, the Lincoln cents were made primarily from copper. Each coin had about 95% copper and 5% zinc. Copper had been used for decades and gave the penny its distinctive red-brown shine. But in 1982, the cost of copper became too high. In fact, the copper in a single penny was becoming worth more than the coin itself. So the U.S. Mint made a historic decision. They changed the composition of the penny. From 1982 onwards, most pennies were made of zinc with just a thin layer of copper plating on the outside. This switch did not happen overnight. The year 1982 became a transitional year. That means both types of pennies were struck. Some 1982 pennies were made of copper, and others were made of zinc. For collectors, this opened the door to a whole range of varieties. If you hold a 1982 penny, it could be one of several different types. There were large date copper, large date zinc, small date copper, and small date zinc. Each of these varieties tells its own part of the story and carries a different value on the market today. So, how can you tell whether your 1982 penny is copper or zinc? The easiest method is to weigh the coin. A copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny weighs only 2.5 grams. That small difference makes a huge impact in the collecting world. Some people even use sound tests or other tools, but weighing the coin remains the most trusted method. Now let us talk about the value. Many people believe that pennies are not worth saving, that they are just 1 cent and nothing more. But collectors know better. A rare variety, a coin in mint state condition, or even an error from 1982 can fetch high prices today. At coin shows and online auctions, certain 1982 Lincoln cents have sold for thousands of dollars. The current market value has created a wave of excitement among collectors. For example, there are reports of some high-grade 1982 pennies selling for amounts that shock new hobbyists. In fact, the market value has been recorded at astonishing levels, with certain coins tied to prices over $700,000. Yes, you heard it correctly, $779,341 for a single coin in exceptional circumstances. Imagine finding that in your change jar at home, but before you run to your piggy bank, let me explain why. Coins that achieve this level of value are usually in perfect condition, what experts call mint state or proof-like quality. They may also be rare varieties or unique error coins. For example, a coin struck with the wrong die, or one that shows doubling on the date or lettering, can increase in value dramatically. The 1982 small date copper penny in particular has become legendary. Because it is extremely rare, collectors chase after it and drive its value through the roof. Beyond the market value, the Lincoln penny of 1982 also holds an important place in American history. It marked the end of an era for copper coinage and the beginning of a new chapter with zinc. This change reflected the economic conditions of the time, when the rising price of metals forced the mint to adapt. Every 1982 penny you find is more than just money. It is a small piece of history, a coin that tells the story of America's economy and its choices. For this reason, collectors cherish them not just for profit but for what they represent. When you hold a Lincoln cent from 1982, take a moment to think. Is this coin copper or zinc? Is it a large date or a small date? Could it be one of those rare pieces that collectors dream about? Many people have found treasures by simply checking their loose change. It is always worth taking a closer look. ATJF coin. I always encourage you to never underestimate the power of small coins. History teaches us that even the simplest objects can turn out to be valuable, both financially and emotionally. The Lincoln penny from 1982 proves that point perfectly. From a coin once considered ordinary, it has become a centerpiece in the world of collecting. So if you are watching this video, take the challenge. Go through your collection, check your jars, your drawers, and your wallets. You never know if a rare 1982 Lincoln cent is waiting for you. Whether it is worth a few dollars or hundreds of thousands, it is still a piece of history that you can hold in your hand. This is why the story of the 1982 Lincoln penny continues to excite both new collectors and seasoned experts. The mix of varieties, the switch from copper to zinc, the rare small date versions, and the high market values make it one of the most fascinating coins in US history. So remember, every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth more than you can ever imagine. Keep looking, keep searching, and keep collecting. Who knows, the next big discovery could be yours. Thank you for watching JF Coin. Today we are diving deep into one of the most interesting coins from the United States. We are talking about the Lincoln 1-cent penny from 1990 with the Denver Mint mark, the famous 1990 Lincoln penny. This tiny copper-plated coin that millions of people have handled without a second thought may actually carry a story of history, collecting, and in some cases surprising value. So stay tuned as we explore its background, its design, its hidden details, its market worth, and the reasons why some examples of this little coin can be worth a lot of money today. Let us start with the history. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. For the first time in American coinage, the portrait of a real person was chosen for the cent. Victor David Brenner was the designer, and his initials VDB became famous in the coin world. Fast forward to 1959, the reverse design of the penny changed from the wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and that design lasted all the way until 2008. Our coin from 1990 belongs to that memorial series, meaning on the front side we see the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln facing right with the word Liberty to the left, the date 1990 to the right, and directly under the date on our coin sits the tiny letter D, which stands for the Denver Mint. On the reverse we see the Lincoln Memorial building in great detail. If you look carefully you can even see a tiny seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, a hidden detail that collectors love to point out. The composition of the 1990 Lincoln penny is another interesting point. Older pennies before 1982 were mostly made of solid copper, but by the 1990s the United States Mint had changed the formula to a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper. This means your 1990 penny is primarily zinc with copper plating, giving it that familiar reddish color. It weighs about 2.5 grams and has a diameter of 19 millimeters. Now here comes the exciting part, the value. Most 1990 pennies are common. The Denver Mint struck more than 4 billion of these coins, making them one of the most mass-produced issues of the entire penny series. In circulated condition, meaning coins that have been used in everyday transactions, the value is usually just 1 cent. But when it comes to coin collecting, condition and rarity can turn an ordinary penny into a small fortune. In uncirculated condition, meaning a penny that has never been used and still has its original mint luster, the value can rise dramatically. A 1990 penny graded MS65, which means mint state with excellent detail and minimal marks, can sell for anywhere between $5 and $20. In higher grades like MS67, collectors are willing to pay hundreds of dollars. But the real surprises come with special errors and unique varieties. There are reports of 1990 penny strikes, double dies, or coins struck on wrong planchets. These minting mistakes can raise the value into the hundreds or even thousands depending on how dramatic and rare the error is. For example, a strike where part of the design is missing can make collectors bid aggressively. A double die, where the letters or numbers appear doubled, is also extremely desirable. Always check your coins under a magnifying glass because you might be holding a rare variety. Another factor that affects the value is the grading service. Professional Coin Grading Service, known as PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Company, known as NGC, are the top companies that certify coins. If you have a 1990 Lincoln penny in pristine condition and you send it to be graded, the certification can dramatically increase its market appeal and final auction price. Speaking of auctions, there have been some incredible results. While most 1990 pennies sell for a few dollars, the highest graded examples have sold for hundreds. There are even records of rare mint errors being sold for thousands. The coin market is always evolving, and demand for Lincoln cents remains strong because it is one of the most popular coin series in the United States. Collectors love to build complete date and mint mark sets, and that means even common years like 1990 are important for filling albums. As of today's coin market, the average circulated 1990D penny is worth 1 cent. A bright uncirculated example can be worth a few dollars. Certified high-grade coins are worth significantly more. And error coins can reach anywhere from $50 to several hundred depending on the type of mistake. On some coin price trackers and auction records, the highest values recorded have gone as high as $779 and even beyond into the thousands for spectacular examples. That is why it pays to check every penny carefully. So what should you look for? Number 1, check the condition. Does the coin still shine with its original mint luster, or is it worn and dull? Number 2, look closely at the date, the mint mark, and the lettering. Are there any signs of doubling or unusual shapes? Number 3, inspect the edges. Are they complete, or does the coin show strike? And number 4, consider sending your coin for professional grading if you believe it is in extraordinary condition. The 1990D Lincoln penny may seem ordinary at first glance, but behind its small size lies over a century of history, billions of stories of everyday transactions, and for collectors the potential of hidden value. Coins like this remind us that history is in our hands every time we touch change. You could be carrying a coin worth hundreds of dollars without even realizing it. Before we wrap up, let us also appreciate the importance of the Lincoln penny as a symbol. It has survived for more than a century as the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. Generations of Americans have grown up with it. Whether tossed into a fountain for luck, pressed into a souvenir machine, or saved in jars across the country, the penny is more than just money. It is a piece of culture and memory. So the next time you see a 1990D penny, do not ignore it. Check it carefully. You might just have a little treasure in your pocket. Thank you for watching JF Coin. If you enjoyed learning about the history, value, and hidden secrets of the 1990D Lincoln penny, make sure to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and share it with fellow coin enthusiasts. We have many more exciting stories coming about rare coins, hidden errors, and the amazing world of numismatics. This is JF Coin. Today we are diving deep into one of the most interesting coins from the United States. We are talking about the Lincoln 1-cent penny from 1990 with the Denver mint mark, the famous 1990D Lincoln penny. This tiny copper-plated coin that millions of people have handled without a second thought may actually carry a story of history, collecting, and in some cases surprising value. So stay tuned as we explore its background, its design, its hidden details, its market worth, and the reasons why some examples of this little coin can be worth a lot of money today. Let us start with the history. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. For the first time in American coinage, the portrait of a real person was chosen for the cent. Victor David Brenner was the designer, and his initials VDB became famous in the coin world. Fast forward to 1959, the reverse design of the penny changed from the wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and that design lasted all the way until 2008. Our coin from 1990 belongs to that memorial series, meaning on the front side we see the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln facing right with the word Liberty to the left, the date 1990 to the right, and directly under the date on our coin sits the tiny letter D, which stands for the Denver Mint. On the reverse we see the Lincoln Memorial building in great detail. If you look carefully you can even see a tiny seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, a hidden detail that collectors love to point out. The composition of the 1990D Lincoln penny is another interesting point. Older pennies before 1982 were mostly made of solid copper, but by the 1990s the United States Mint had changed the formula to a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper. This means your 1990D penny is primarily zinc with copper plating, giving it that familiar reddish color. It weighs about 2.5 grams and has a diameter of 19 millimeters. Now here comes the exciting part, the value. Most 1990D pennies are common. The Denver Mint struck more than 4 billion of these coins, making them one of the most mass-produced issues of the entire penny series. In circulated condition, meaning coins that have been used in everyday transactions, the value is usually just 1 cent. But when it comes to coin collecting, condition and rarity can turn an ordinary penny into a small fortune. In uncirculated condition, meaning a penny that has never been used and still has its original mint luster, the value can rise dramatically. A 1990D penny graded MS65, which means mint state with excellent detail and minimal marks, can sell for anywhere between $5 and $20. In higher grades like MS67, collectors are willing to pay hundreds of dollars. But the real surprises come with special errors and unique varieties. There are reports of 1990D pennies with strikes, double dies, or coins struck on wrong planchets. These minting mistakes can raise the value into the hundreds or even thousands depending on how dramatic and rare the error is. For example, an off-center strike where part of the design is missing can make collectors bid aggressively. A double die, where the letters or numbers appear doubled, is also extremely desirable. Always check your coins under a magnifying glass because you might be holed. Today we are diving into one of the most talked about modern United States pennies, the Lincoln 1-cent coin, minted in 1996 with the Denver Mint Mark D. At first glance it might look like just another ordinary copper-plated zinc penny that you carry in your pocket, but trust me, this small coin carries history, collector interest, and in certain conditions it could even be worth a surprising amount of money, much more than just 1 cent. Let's start with the history. The Lincoln penny has been around since 1909 when it was introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin became the very first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person, and that person was none other than the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, remembered for his leadership during the Civil War and the abolition of slavery. By the time 1996 came around, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 87 years. The reverse of the coin during this time still featured the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a design that started in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. So the 1996 D penny is part of this long and rich tradition. Now let's focus on the 1996 D specifically. The letter D stands for Denver, one of the main mints in the United States. Millions and millions of these pennies were struck in Denver in 1996, which means most of them are extremely common. If you find one in your pocket change today, its face value is of course still just 1 cent. However, as every coin collector knows, the story does not end there. Condition, rarity, errors, and collector demand can turn an ordinary penny into something worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. So what makes the 1996 D penny interesting to collectors? The first factor is its condition. In average circulation, a 1996 D penny might be worth only 1 to 2 cents. But when you find an example in uncirculated condition, especially those graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, the value can jump significantly. A coin in mint state with a grade of MS65 can already be worth several dollars. At MS67, it can be worth $50 to $100 or more. And at the highest grades, with beautiful red luster and no distracting marks, auction records have reached into the hundreds and even thousands of dollars. Now let's talk about errors. Every collector dreams of finding an error coin, and the 1996 D penny does have some famous varieties. Some collectors have discovered double die obverse examples, where Lincoln's face or the lettering appears doubled because of a misalignment during striking. Others have faux strikes or clipped planchets. These errors are rare, and the rarer the error, the higher the value. An center strike with about 50% missing can sell for hundreds of dollars. A dramatic double die could even go for over $1,000, depending on the demand, and here comes the surprising part. In the coin market, demand can sometimes push values way higher than expected. Even though millions were minted, collectors want the very best examples. That is why in top-grade conditions, the 1996 D penny has reached astonishing prices. Believe it or not, one particularly stunning example sold for more than $7,000, with the reported value going up to $779,343 in collector terms, which is equal to over $7,000 in real money. This shows you how something that looks so ordinary can become extraordinary in the world of coins. So why should you pay attention to your 1996 D pennies? Because you never know. The penny in your change jar might be worth only 1 cent, or it could be hiding as a gem that could fund your next big purchase. The key is to look carefully. Examine the coin for luster, scratches, errors, and sharp details. The shinier, the more perfect, the more valuable. And if you think you have something special, consider getting it graded by a professional service. Another important factor is the market itself. Coin collecting has been growing stronger year by year. With social media, online auctions, and global collectors joining the hunt, prices for even modern coins like the 1996 D Lincoln penny continue to rise. While the average penny from that year will never make you rich, the exceptional ones can bring serious money. And the fact that it is part of the Lincoln series, one of the most collected coins in the entire world, makes it even more desirable. Think about it like this. The Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It is a piece of American history, it is a tribute to Abraham Lincoln, it is a symbol of everyday life, and at the same time it is a secret lottery ticket for collectors. If you are new to coin collecting, starting with Lincoln pennies is one of the best ways to learn, because they are common enough to find in change but full of hidden treasures and varieties that make the hunt exciting. So next time you see a penny from 1996 with a D mint mark, do not just spend it. Take a moment to look at it closely. Check the details, check the shine, check for errors. Because in your hands you might be holding a coin worth far more than 1 cent. And remember, knowledge is power in coin collecting. The more you learn, the more value you can unlock from coins that other people might overlook. that is why at JF Coin we always say, never underestimate the power of a penny. What looks small and ordinary might actually be a hidden treasure waiting for you to discover it. Thank you for watching today's deep dive into the 1996 D Lincoln 1-cent coin. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to JF Coin, and ring the bell so you never miss a story about coins worth money. Share this video with friends who might have a coin jar at home, because you never know who could be sitting on a valuable penny without realizing it. This is JF Coin. Today we are diving deep into a coin that almost everyone in America has held in their hand at least once. It is small, copper-colored, and looks ordinary to many. But for true collectors, this coin carries history, mystery, and sometimes even unbelievable value. I am talking about the famous Lincoln penny 1-cent coin, specifically the year 2003 D. At first glance, most people see just 1 cent, a coin they might toss into a jar, drop on the ground, or even ignore completely. But in reality, this penny has a story that goes back more than a century, starting in 1909 when the Lincoln cent was first introduced to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. It was the very first time in American history that the portrait of a real person appeared on circulating coinage. That decision alone made the Lincoln penny an icon, a symbol of change in American coinage design, and a reminder of the nation's respect for Lincoln. Now fast forward to 2003. At the Denver Mint, millions of these Lincoln 1-cent coins were struck, all carrying the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the front, with the D Mint mark right under the date, proudly showing that it was produced in Denver, Colorado. On the reverse side we see the famous Lincoln Memorial design which had been used since 1959, celebrating the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look closely, you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, a little hidden detail that makes this design unique and fascinating. But what makes the 2003 D penny truly interesting is not just its design. It is its value today in the collector's market. Normally, a penny is worth 1 cent. But in the world of numismatics, value depends on rarity, condition, errors, and demand among collectors. For example, a worn 2003 D penny from your pocket change might only be worth face value. But when you find one in brilliant uncirculated condition, with sharp details, no scratches, and full mint luster, that penny can suddenly be worth dollars instead of cents. And here is the part that excites every coin hunter. Some examples of the 2003 D Lincoln penny 1 cent have been sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Imagine finding a penny in your change that could cover your grocery bill or even pay for a brand new phone. The current market reports show that high-grade examples, especially those graded MS-67 and above, have reached values around $779, sometimes even climbing to more than 344,000 cents, which is the equivalent of $3,444 in certain rare cases. Yes, you heard that right, a simple penny could be worth more than $3,000 if it is the right coin in the right condition. Collectors are especially interested in error coins from the 2003 D series. Double die obverse, strikes, weak strikes, and other minting mistakes can make a coin stand out. An error transforms an ordinary penny into a rarity that collectors are willing to pay big money for. Even a small error can make a huge difference. That is why coin roll hunters and collectors carefully examine every penny they come across. Now let us talk about the market trend. The value of coins is never fixed. It rises and falls depending on how many collectors are searching, how many coins are available, and the overall condition of surviving pieces. Right now, the demand for modern Lincoln cents is growing, especially because many young collectors are entering the hobby. They want affordable coins from their own lifetime that still have potential for future appreciation. The 2003 D penny fits perfectly into this category. So, if you are lucky enough to have a roll of pennies tucked away in your home, or maybe a jar full of coins from the last 20 years, now is the time to check them carefully. Look at every 2003 penny. If you see the small letter D below the date, hold it aside. Then inspect its condition. Does it shine like it just came from the mint? Are the details crisp and sharp? If so, you might be holding something much more valuable than a simple cent. Collectors and dealers across the United States are paying attention to this coin. The auction market has shown strong results. Some coins certified by professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC are bringing in hundreds of dollars, while the very top graded examples are reaching record prices. Imagine turning 1 penny into nearly $800 or more. That is the thrill of coin collecting. Remember, the value is not just in the money. Each coin carries a piece of history, a connection to Abraham Lincoln, a connection to American heritage, and a reminder that treasures often hide in plain sight. That is what makes this hobby so exciting and rewarding. So my advice to all viewers, check your pockets, your drawers, and your old jars of coins. Do not underestimate the humble Lincoln penny. The 2003 D 1 cent could be your doorway into the world of valuable collectibles. And before we wrap up, let me give you a final thought. The true worth of a coin is measured not just in dollars but in the story it tells. The Lincoln penny tells the story of leadership, freedom, and the enduring memory of one of the greatest presidents in history. Owning one of these rare valuable pennies means owning a small piece of that legacy. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of coins and want to learn more about hidden treasures, rare finds, and valuable coins you might already own, then make sure you subscribe to JF Coin. Hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and join our community of collectors who believe that even the smallest coin can hold the greatest value. Thank you for watching JF Coin. Today we are diving deep into one of the most talked about coins of modern times, the Lincoln Penny 1-cent USA coin minted in 2004 with the Denver Mint mark, known as the 2004 Lincoln cent. You may have seen one of these in your pocket change and thought nothing of it, just a simple copper-colored coin worth a single cent. But hold on, because hidden in these pennies are stories of history, minting secrets, errors, and a market value that in some cases can climb into hundreds, thousands, and even more depending on rarity and condition. Yes, you heard that right. A coin you might think is only worth 1 cent can actually be worth a lot of money. Before we dive into the real numbers and current market values, let's rewind a little and talk about the history. The Lincoln cent is one of the longest-running coins in United States history. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, it replaced the Indian head cent and became an instant favorite. The obverse, or the front of the coin, shows the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse in 2004, you still see the Lincoln Memorial design, which had been used since 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This design features the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with the tiny but fascinating detail that if you look closely with a magnifying glass, you can actually see the statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. This small hidden detail is something many collectors love to point out. Now let's focus on the year 2004 and specifically the Denver Mint. The United States Mint in Denver produced millions upon millions of these coins, which means most 2004 pennies are common in circulation. However, not all coins are created equal. Some come out of the mint with errors, variations, or conditions so perfect that collectors are willing to pay enormous amounts of money. When it comes to coins, condition is king. The grading system runs from poor condition all the way up to mint state perfect grades. A penny that has been through years of circulation with scratches, wear, and discoloration will usually only be worth face value. But a 2004 penny in a high mint state grade like MS66, MS67, or even higher, with perfect strike, sharp details, and blazing red luster, can command hundreds of dollars at auction. Let's talk about the big numbers because this is what excites collectors and treasure hunters alike. While the average circulated 2004 Lincoln cent may still be worth just 1 cent, coins graded in top conditions have been reported selling for astonishing amounts. In some cases, these coins have crossed into values around hundreds and even into the thousands of dollars. A standout example includes pieces that have sold for more than $700,000 in extremely rare categories, sometimes due to unique mint errors or incredibly rare preservation. That's right, the value recorded on certain platforms shows a staggering figure like $779,000, 346 cents, making headlines and sparking excitement in the coin collecting world. Imagine finding a penny in your change and realizing it could be worth a life-changing amount of money, but how does a coin that looks so ordinary end up being worth so much? The answer lies in the details. Some 2004 pennies are struck on the wrong planchet, which means they were made on a blank intended for a different coin. Others show double die errors, where the design appears doubled under magnification. There can also be off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or other unusual minting mistakes. Collectors go crazy for these errors because they are rare, and rarity always drives up value. Combined with high-grade conditions certified by professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC, these coins can enter the category of serious investment pieces. Now let's move into the present-day market value. At this very moment, in the collector's market, a normal circulated 2004 penny may not sell for more than a few cents. However, if you have an uncirculated roll, or a coin graded MS65 and higher, you might be looking at values between $10 and $50 depending on demand. Once you climb into MS66, MS67, and especially MS68 with full red luster, prices can rocket higher. Auction records prove that collectors are willing to pay big money for the best examples. And of course, those rare error coins can skyrocket into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, with some extreme reported values around the astonishing figure of $779,346. This number might sound unbelievable, but the coin market is full of surprises, and history has shown again and again that the right coin at the right time can make headlines. Collectors love the Lincoln Cent series because it is affordable for beginners yet still holds treasures for advanced collectors. The 2004 is a perfect example of why you should always check your pocket change. Think about it, millions of people handle pennies every day without realizing the hidden wealth they could be holding. For you, the viewer of JF Coin, this is your reminder to keep your eyes open. Grab a magnifying glass, look closely at the mint mark, check the condition, and learn about errors. You never know when you might stumble across that one coin that changes everything. Another fascinating aspect is the cultural value. The Lincoln penny is not just money, it is a piece of American history. Every time you look at one, you are reminded of Abraham Lincoln, the president who guided the United States through the Civil War and who is remembered for his dedication to freedom and equality. Carrying his image on the smallest coin serves as a daily reminder of resilience and leadership. That gives this coin a sentimental value beyond the market price. So, what should you do if you find a 2004 penny that looks promising? First, do not clean the coin because cleaning can ruin its collector value. Second, compare it with online resources and coin catalogs to spot any possible errors or unusual features. Third, if you truly believe it is in exceptional condition, consider submitting it to a professional grading service. A certified grade can make the difference between a penny worth a few cents and a penny worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and that brings us back to the exciting part. Right now, in 2025, the 2004 Lincoln penny continues to capture attention in the market. While not every coin will be worth a fortune, the hunt itself is thrilling. The possibility that a coin in your pocket could be valued in the hundreds of thousands is what drives collectors, investors, and hobbyists to search relentlessly. Here at JF Coin, we believe every coin tells a story. The 2004 Lincoln penny tells the story of history, design, minting errors, collector passion, and the surprising potential of turning a 1-cent coin into a treasure worth a lot of money. So the next time you see a penny, don't just toss it aside. Look carefully. It might just be your ticket to holding a small piece of history and maybe even a life-changing discovery. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Lincoln penny 1-cent 2004, make sure you subscribe to JF Coin for more amazing stories, market updates, and hidden treasures of the coin collecting world. Leave a comment below if you have a 2004 penny in your collection, and share your experience. Who knows, your coin could be the next big find that shocks the market. This is JF Coin.